let's talk readathon plans. I absolutely love readathons. You guys know this. I do monthly readathon vlogs. I host monthly readathons with my Patreons, and I do readathons with you guys on a quarterly basis. I absolutely love setting aside an entire weekend for just reading, watching movies, watching TV shows, and just relaxing, getting lost in books, getting lost in literature, and just having a good time. And that's why today, I'm gonna be reading for 24 hours. I've been reading loads lately for video projects, or I've been editing for hours on end, and so I think this weekend is going to be perfect to get some good reading in and to smash out some books that I personally want to read before the year's over. If you've been here for a while, or if you've snooped around my Goodreads, then you know that I absolutely love the Blood on the Tracks manga series, and so I finally got a hold of volume 3, and so to start out the readathon, we're gonna start good with Blood on the Tracks. You know what else is fun? PayPal Honey! There, I said it. They're the sponsor of today's video. Now, if you're not familiar with Honey, let me tell you what you've been missing this whole time, because it is the #1 shopping tool in America. You can almost consider it to be like your online savings sidekick that'll walk with you and traverse with you the journey of online shopping. And let me tell you, if there is anything a girl loves more than shopping, it is saving money. What it does is that it searches the whole internet for promo codes and applies them directly onto your checkout so that you don't have to. And the coolest thing is that it works with things you're already buying, like books and makeup and even clothes. And yes, it really is that easy. Even Vin agrees. All I'm saying is that with Honey, I would be saving $13.18 on these books. That's a lot. It really does give me a little rush when I get that discount. And if that is not enough to convince you, when there's a coupon, Honey finds a discount of 18% on average, and they have 100,000 five-star reviews on Google. Bottom line, run. Don't walk. Also, don't go to joinhoney.com. That's boring. Go to joinhoney.com/MelReads, because that, friends, is how we keep this channel alive. I hope you love it as much as I do. Blood on the Tracks volume 3, and I should know by now, just based on the endings of every single one and how every single one ends on a cliffhanger, that I need more than one volume at a time to read, because all I would love to do right now is jump into volume 4, and I don't own it. Libby also doesn't have it for me, so I think I'm gonna end up ordering the next 3 volumes in a little bit, because this was just so amazing. If you guys don't know what Blood on the Tracks is about, we primarily follow the story of a mother and her son, and what a mother is willing to do in order to protect her child. Whether her motivation to do that is good or bad, that is something that is explored throughout the series. It is very psychological thriller. It is very borderlining on horror sometimes. And what I love so much about the series so far, and particularly this volume, it's very quiet. It's very silent. Sometimes there are a lot of panels that don't have dialogue at all, and it's just the sensory details that you can sort of picture or hear in your mind of the steps and the sounds, and because it's so quiet, it builds the tension so well. Not every moment in the series, not every moment throughout the volume has to be so loud, because then when something loud does happen, it allows for it to shine so much more and for it to be as disturbing as it is. Abuse is something that recurrently happens on the page, and because it's so silent and because it feels so claustrophobic and nobody knows what's going on and nobody is actively talking about this, it makes it even more horrifying, because it feels like our main character Seiichi is really on his own when it comes to the abuse of his mother. There was just something about how Seiichi has been affected by everything that's happened, and the way that it manifests in his mind and therefore physically as well was just not only terrifying but also absolutely heartbreaking. And again, to know that he is going through this on his own makes it all the more terrifying. So this is an amazing manga series. I love it so much, and I gave it 5 stars, and it was so good. And now, because I didn't know what to start next, because I do have a few options, I asked my Patreons what I should start, and everybody voted. Are you ready for 10,000 Stitches by Olivia Atwater? You guys know that on the last readathon, I ended up reading the first book in this series, Half a Soul, and I think what's so cool about this is that although it is a series, each book stands on its own, so you can read them separately or together as a series, which I always think is incredibly cool, because you don't have to read all of them if you don't want to. So I'm excited to start this. I'm excited to see what it does, and we'll see where it takes us. But honestly, Half a Soul was so wholesome and just gave me the boost of serotonin I needed, and I'm hoping this does something. If not similar, then even better. I have been reading, friends, and I am officially halfway through 10,000 Stitches, and I'm a bit torn on this. I am enjoying it. However, I feel it lacks a little bit of the charm that book one had. The first one was super easy to fly through, and I'm not saying that this one isn't, because it's still very accessible, it's still very easy to read, and it's still very whimsy in its nature because it is a retelling of sorts. This one follows more so a retelling of Cinderella with the basic structure of somebody who is lower class, who is a maid, and she is cleaning for a very wealthy of status family. And lo and behold, one day she is out in a maze in the gardens and she ends up encountering a fairy, an elf in particular, Lord Blackthorn, who quickly takes a liking to her and immediately wants to help her get whatever her heart desires. He seems to truly have the best intentions at heart, which I find so very curious, and so he becomes her godfather of sorts, which I think that subversion is incredible in this book. And honestly, one of my favorite characters, just because of his charm and his willingness to understand sort of human nature, is Lord Blackthorn. And again, there's something very humane about the way he looks at the world and he tries to understand things, which is very unlike people of his caliber. And so I quite like him for that reason. Now, what I find so interesting about this book is that the premise itself is that he is supposed to help our main character, our lead, Effie. I sort of forgot her name there for a second, I'm not gonna lie. He is supposed to help Effie get her dream man, who is Benedict. Benedict is a Baron's son. However, the way that she takes a liking to Benedict is very fast. It's very quick. She looks at him and she immediately goes, I think I'm in love. And from one page to the next, she goes, oh, I'm definitely in love and I need him to fall in love with me as well. So that not only do I stop being a maid, but also I'll get like my happily ever after moment. No development whatsoever there. Maybe one or two interactions. And moving forward from there haven't really been a lot of interactions. It's very clear as to where the book is headed. It's a bit lackluster. It's not giving me the same amount of serotonin book one did. And so I'm a little bit frustrated because of that. I need to disassociate the idea of the two so that I don't compare this to book one, because not only are they doing very different things, but our main character even is very, very different to our main character in Half a Soul. I don't love Effie quite as much, and there's really not a lot to say about her because she doesn't really have a personality, but at least I like Lord Blackthorn. That goes a long way, I think. Hello? Did a girl finish another book? She did! It is 12:09. I sprinted for 9 hours on Patreon, and honestly, the vibes were great, the reading was there, and so it was a great time, and I did manage to finish my second book of the readathon, and honestly, I didn't love this as much as I thought I would. I was very, very hopeful because Half a Soul was amazing, and yet everything about this felt very underwhelming, and I think it's mostly due to Effie as the main character. She is nowhere as interesting, in my opinion, as Dora from book one, and so that in and of itself was a big impact to the book. There were things that I personally, just based on the progression of the story, wish wouldn't have happened, and also that the things that ultimately were realized by our heroine were realized a bit sooner so that we wouldn't get a bunch of unnecessary events and answers to certain questions, because it felt like it was making the book a little bit longer than it needed to be, and that we were beating around the bush when we knew exactly where we were gonna end up. And so it was a little bit frustrating in terms of how much it was postponing the inevitable for Effie. And so in that regard, a little bit frustrating. I will say what Olivia Atwater is doing amazingly for the series is having a very whimsy, fairy tale-like series while still being able to include real life commentary in here. The topic of class and privilege in this one was very, very prevalent from start to finish, especially with Effie being a maid. And so we really get to see how nobility in this one look down at individuals whose jobs are to help nobility, and how they are constantly disrespected, oftentimes abused, how they're paid nothing, how they do too much and their work is never appreciated, and they're the ones doing the hard labor. And so I think in terms of what conversations this established, I really do think it was very successful. Unfortunately though, I wish our main character would have had a little bit more personality. I think that truly is what brought the book down massively for me. But there's that, and honestly, this book served its purpose because the whole way through, I pictured Lord Blackthorn, Juniper Jubilee as Tom Hiddleston. There was just something about the dialogue that was giving me very much Tom Hiddleston vibes, and for that reason, it gained a star.
You want to say hi to the cameras, or do you want the pit? Oh, hello everybody.
I want to squeeze in a few pages of Everyone's an Alien When You're an Alien Too before going to bed, because I do need to be up in 8 hours, but maybe I can squeeze this in before going to bed.
Time to do some skincare. So good, but so hopeful. Everything, it's everything everywhere all at once. It's so good. My soul. I'm so happy I read this.
Let me just say something real quick. I have never had a graphic novel make me cry as much as this just made me cry, and I totally get the rave and the love and why everybody adores this as much as they do. I think what Jonathan Sun ends up doing with this graphic novel is truly encapsulating the human experience without having humans as the vessel of the story. We've got our main character Jomny, who is an alien, and he ends up coming to Earth as a mission to understand humans. He ends up meeting everything but humans and really connecting with nature and animals in a way that oftentimes humans disregard. And through that, he ends up connecting to the universe and to living, breathing things, and finding out what it truly means to live and to feel and to connect, and to also have those introspective moments of loneliness and happiness and sadness. And the way this graphic novel brought up so many questions about life, I thought was so tastefully done. It makes you question everything while at the same time giving you so much hope that there is much more to life than what you personally experience. And honestly, I think the blurb at the back by Lin-Manuel Miranda says it perfectly. Read the book only if you want to feel more alive. It revitalizes your love of life, and it urges you to appreciate things that we oftentimes take for granted, because it's so easy for life to get so convoluted and so complicated with everything happening in our personal lives, with our work, with our family, with our friends, losing people, with losing our sense of self, and so many things going into it. And I love that we get those moments of I'm too busy, I'm working, I can't talk right now. And because we're so focused in the moment on getting things done, we forget to connect, and connection is such an important part of the human experience. And so this was so very human, so very emotional, so very lovely. I think one of the most special parts of this graphic novel is that oftentimes graphic novels tend to be a one read sort of thing. You read it once, you rate it once, and then you kind of move on, never look at it again. fun. With this though, it's definitely something that you'll want to reread time and time again, because each and every time you'll get a different takeaway from the story, which I love. So this is definitely a new favorite of mine, and I can't wait to reread it because it merits that. Like, it deserves to be reread. It's just so good. So safe to say, I gave it 5 stars. The readathon technically ended for me today at 4 p.m. It's 10 p.m. But honestly, I just felt exhausted today, and that is the truth of things. If I told you guys in detail the past week and a half I've had, not only did I have an inflamed coccyx that put me on bed rest for a few days, and on top of that, my credit card got cloned, and a process that should be easy is anything but easy. It's been a mess, it's been super stressful, and that just massively affected this weekend that was supposed to be stress-free and reading only. That being said, still a few things to go through, still some updates to be had. I've had this box for a hot second, so we're gonna unbox it together today. This is the Aardvark book club, which launched, I think, either in October or November. They reached out because they wanted to send over a box. Basically, this is a book subscription service, and you, I think, get to choose which books you get, and it's essentially every genre, at least right now, but fantasy and sci-fi, if I am not mistaken. So let us open this, because I don't even know what's in here. So it's got a little card that tells you all of the months picked, and yes, it did launch in October or November, so I'm a little bit late. So they sent 3 out of their 4 picks, and that's super cool. So they sent Ithaca by Claire North. They also sent The Marsh Queen by Virginia Hartman, and then they sent The Night Ship by Jess Kidd. I love how like subtle it is. If I wouldn't have looked at the camera, I wouldn't have noticed that there's actually the logo from Aardvark in there. That is super subtle, and I love that there's nothing on the spine, so it looks like a regular hardcover. So thank you so much to them for sending this over. That's amazing. I also have to update you on the 2 books that I started, because I started these during sprints and I did not update you. First one is The Wild Ones by Nafisa Assad. This is my November book club pick for Patreon, and I did get 40 pages in. I have so many tabs in already and have annotated so much stuff because the writing in this is absolutely stunning. It is very purple prose, very lyrical, and I think that combined with the fantastical setting and the fact that all of our main characters are immortal. Think the 13 from Throne of Glass, but make it 10 times more diverse and make the writing as lyrical as it can get. This is the end product, and I am absolutely in love with it. I love how it emphasizes that although they are all women of color and feminine rage is within all of them, all of their stories are vastly different. They are all different shades of brown, and that is the reality of the world that we live in. And so it constantly warns the reader against grouping women of color together just because they're from the same background, which ends up being a disservice to who they are as women. And so I absolutely love how the book emphasizes that. I think this is gonna end up being a 5-star for me. I can just feel it in my bones, from the writing to the characters. I love how they all come together so beautifully in this and how they work together as a unit. Like, the synergy between all of the characters is absolutely beautiful. And the premise so far, from what I was able to read, from what little I got from the 40 pages, is that we have a group called the Wild Ones. They all have this magical power in them that comes from the in-between, that is essentially a place that is fully magic. They are all immortal, and lo and behold, they're doing their rounds, they're visiting the midworld, and they find out that there's this one man that has just arrived, and he is threatening the balance of everything, including magic in the world as they know it. And so I'm assuming that they'll have to get involved in some way, shape, or form and do the damn thing. And then the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin. I got 30 pages into this one, and the writing, once more, I feel like this is gonna be a 5-star. I can't imagine a world where either of these are not 5 stars because they're both so very good. I am absolutely entranced by the writing in the 5th season. Instantly grips you, it instantly has you. And I think this right here is the line that got me. Let me look for it, let me find it. He reaches wide, taking hold of the great sliding puzzle piece of earth shell on which the continent sits. Lastly, he reaches up for power. He takes all that, the strata and the magma and the people and the power in his imaginary hands. Everything. He holds it. He is not alone. The earth is with him. Then he breaks it. I don't think I'm that ways into it to truly know what the plot is. We just know that the world has ended, and it has ended time and time again. It is not the same as the planet ending. It does make this big distinction. So this is the time the world ends for the last time. That is literally all we know. There's some sort of elemental powers to this. It is written in second person, which I think is so intriguing because the narrator is speaking to us as if we are the main character, who is a mother that has lost both her children. One is missing, and then the other one was recently murdered by the father, her husband. And so I can't wait to see where this goes. But so far, this is absolutely amazing. And honestly, all I want to do is sit on the couch all day tomorrow and just read this, because I know I'm going to end up loving this, and I've heard nothing short of amazing things about the 5th season. So I'm fully ready to devour this tomorrow. So yes, friends, that's it. That's all I've got for you in this vlog. Let a girl know down in the comments if you've read any of these books, what you read this past weekend. Do let a girl know, because I love seeing what you guys are currently reading, and if you've read any of these books and your opinion on them. Don't forget to give this video a massive thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and if you reached the end of the video, let's leave some honey emojis down below. You already know. Don't forget to subscribe for more bookish content that I am constantly putting up. If you want to support the channel further, I do have a Patreon. It is always linked down below. We do all the stuff in there, from book clubs to readathons to weekly updates to a Discord server, exclusive videos, exclusive live shows. All the good stuff happens over there as an extra to what happens over here. So if you want an extension of Mel, of the channel, I would definitely suggest joining. Again, that is always down below alongside all of my socials. I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one. Bye, guys!